Welcome to Point Road Group's Ask the Expert series, where we talk to experts about topics relating to personal and corporate branding. Today, we're speaking with my good friend, Nkrumah Pierre, about networking. Nkrumah is a director with EisnerAmper's Friends of the Firm program. He provides supports to clients looking to hire accounting, finance, and HR executives. He also provides job search support, job referrals, and networking assistance to individual Friends of the Firm members. Great to have you with us today, Nkrumah.
Alyssa, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's jump right in. So you and I were really big in-person networkers as well as virtual, but we've done both. So what's the biggest surprise that you've experienced recently since we've now moved exclusively to virtual networking?
Absolutely. So I've told people I feel like a lion captured inside of a small cage, and every day is a struggle, but I'm getting through it. No, I'm being dramatic. But with regard to networking digitally or virtually, what I've found and kind of been pretty surprised by is how available everyone is. So before, if you wanted to hop on a call quickly or jump on a video call, which is also new, folks would say, okay, cool, let's try for next week. What I'm seeing now is, people's calendars are a lot more fluid. So just as quickly as you can book a meeting, people also cancel meetings, right? And that's happening a lot because, one, we have the kids at home if you have a family. People are, again, from a business development standpoint, if you work for a corporation or a firm, your boss expects you to be available when he calls or when she calls, right? So everything I found is super fluid. But the good news is that, if you do want to jump on a call, it's fairly, I wouldn't say it's easier, but I'm finding people more receptive and open to taking that networking call because they have more time in their hands.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. So a strong network is critical to longer term business and professional success, which I know you totally get. So how, share with our audience how you prioritize who to stay in touch with, because there's so many people out there. How do you figure out which one first? And then maybe if you wouldn't mind also saying, does the way you reach out to them depend on who the contact is?
Absolutely. So two awesome questions. So the first question, how do you prioritize? So there are two buckets. There are actually a lot more buckets, but I'll start with two: the takers and the givers. And what I found is that the more givers you have in your network, the more you surround yourself with connectors and givers, they're kind of synonymous, the better. So, of course, the people, in my opinion, who take priority or who get priority are the ones who are givers. They say givers gain, and I'm not saying you only give to receive, but what I found in the networking game is the people who really get it, like yourself. I try to be a giver as well and a connector. Those are the people that are always asking, what can I do for you as well, right? They understand the power of networking. They understand the reason for networking, but the people who ask also how can they reciprocate are the people, in my opinion, that get the most attention.
So you do the right things. So, but when we talk about networking, there's always wrong things. So what's the most common mistake you see people making that you just wish they would stop doing?
Of course, LinkedIn for you and I has been huge for the last 10 to 12 years, right? It's people are like, oh my God, I'm using LinkedIn more. I'm like, I've been using it for the past decade. So I don't know. Of course, the pandemic has changed the way we do business, but I've been using LinkedIn this entire time. So I think I'm fairly savvy with regard to how to use it and how to kind of operate and manipulate the platform. Now, in terms of what I can't stand is when someone connects with you on LinkedIn, might send you, a short message, which makes sense. It's super authentic. And, they mention we have a number of common connections. Well, I have almost 20,000 contacts on LinkedIn. And if you're in New York in business development or in financial services, odds are we have a number of mutual connections, right? So, it's almost like that is a given, right? But it's okay. Put that in the line. And again, that is not a pet peeve, but I'm just just being realistic and putting it out there. So I look at the message, I check out their profile, we do some common connections, contacts, and I like the people that were, here's the thing. You could have common connections and not really like those individuals, right? That happens. But we have common connections and I like those individuals, so that helps the cause. And then I accept. I'm fairly open with connecting to individuals, but I have a short, I have very little tolerance for those who go off the deep end rather quickly. And but when I say go off the deep end, so if I connect with someone, they say, Nkrumah, would love to get to know you and figure out how we can help one another. I notice you have a few mutual connections. I notice you went to Lafayette. Okay, cool. They did their due diligence. I'll connect. That's fine. And then once I click accept,
I know it's coming.
they then unload with regard to what they want to sell me. They sell me everything under the sun, whether it be lead generation, outsourced accounting work, HR solutions, whatever they're selling, the flavor of the day, right?
Yeah.
And we have not jumped on a call. They don't know how to pronounce my name. They probably misspelled my name if I didn't catch it, right? They
probably call you Pierre first.
Pierre or whatever, you name it. And they're already selling before they even know, one, who I am, two, what I do within the organization, and three, if I'm even a potential buyer for their service or product. You haven't done any of the homework or legwork or due diligence, quite frankly, to see if I'm even a real buyer or a potential buyer. And let's not forget, in the networking game, you don't always need to talk to the decision maker. Influencers are also really good in the sales process. Of course, we want to get to the decision maker, but if you have an influencer who is highly regarded by management internally and other leaders listen to that person could be just as, if not more important than the decision maker. So anyway, I say all that to say, my biggest pet peeve are those who come in saying one thing and want to authentically connect, and then, you know, it's almost like tongue in cheek, where in the next breath, they're talking about the 30 things they want to sell you, and we haven't even had an initial conversation.
The old bait and switch.
Yep.
If you lack a diversified network, meaning that your connections are, you know, in a specific area, whether it's your industry, your job function, or maybe you work for a really large company for a long time and your network tends to be within different areas just within your organization. What are some quick tips that you can provide to people to broaden their network so they can diversify a little bit? And it's, you know, especially now in our virtual environment.
Sure. I think the first step is, one, being honest with yourself. So if you can just identify the fact that you don't have a large network in that industry, that's the first step. Step two is then asking for help. So if you want to be connected to folks within financial services, see which one of your contacts, one, are in financial services or sell to financial service professionals. That's the quickest way, getting those warm introductions from people who already, in my opinion, have that network.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so then it comes to when we talk about, you and I always chat about pet peeves in the networking world. So response time really impacts impressions you make on people. And it did before the environment that we're in, but it now does even more so. So do you have one or two personal best practices on how you respond when someone reaches out? Because right now we are inundated with emails and LinkedIn messages, and messages on other platforms too. And believe it or not, some people still leave voicemails.
Yes, they do.
But how do you what's your tips on that? How do you manage?
Absolutely. So I've always had the 24-hour rule. And it's interesting because when I first started in sales, I thought 24 hours was too long. I would say within a business day, right? Now what I found is that people are getting a little bit of a pass if they don't respond within 24 hours. And here's why. Just because of the sheer volume, the uptick in the amount of emails we get, it's actually, in my opinion, okay if you get back to someone within a day and a half. And a day and a half, in my opinion, is probably worst case scenario. I try to do everything within a business day. But one of my quick tips is, if someone sends you an email and you know you really can't get to it and give them a really, really good answer, I mean, we see the emails come in. I quickly send a note and say, Alyssa, thank you so much for making this introduction. Michael, it's great to meet you. I'm slammed, I'm buried right now, but would love to chat at the end of the week, right? A quick response to let them know that you saw it. It came from Alyssa, so I want to respond to it, but letting them know where you are with your week. And people really people really respect that more than anything else versus the email that then gets buried further down. And of course, what do? We always read the most recent email and work our way down our inbox, right? That's what most people do. And when you do that, the email that you missed yesterday can then become 4 or 5 days old and then a week old. And then at that point, someone thinks you've brushed them off. So I think a day and a half is a good window. And if you are really jammed, let people know that. Can you please circle back in a week? Can you please circle back at the end of tomorrow? Let them know what you want them to do, because if not, in their mind, they're creating this story and it manifests over time.
Thanks, Nkrumah, for sharing your expertise with us today for Point Row Group's Ask the Expert series. It is always great talking to you. And I know you and I can speak about any topic relating to personal branding, career development, business development, I mean, for hours and hours. So It's always a pleasure. And you can check out this conversation as well as those with experts in other areas on our website at pointrowgroup.com/asktheexperts. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Lisa.